Before we get started with some of the questions that we may have, I believe it was last week or the week before, we were reading briefly what is the definition of beneficial knowledge from the Kalam of Shaykh Abdul Rahman ibn Nasir as-Sa'di, rahimahullah. And we said, or before we even go that far, it's not our class, but he's explaining the hadith of Abu Hurairah and Sahih Muslim, which the Prophet ﷺ is quoted to have said, "Ihris ala ma yanfa'uk." Be diligent upon what's good for you, what's beneficial to you. Work hard, busy yourself, struggle upon that which is a benefit to you. He said, فَالْأُمُورَ النَّافِعَ فِي الدِّينِ تَرْجِعُ إِلَى أَمْرين عِلْمٍ نَافِعٍ وَعَمَلٍ صَالِحٍ. He says all beneficial things in the religion, not the worldly life, but the religion, they go back to 2 points, 2 main points. He says beneficial knowledge and righteous action. Beneficial knowledge and righteous action. That's the summary of that which is good for you, of your faith, of your religion, your religious devotion. Learning something beneficial, practicing and implementing something beneficial. That's what you should busy yourself with regards to the religious aspects. As far as the worldly aspects, it's a different discussion. And the same applies there as well. Learning something beneficial and performing something which is beneficial, wholesome, of sports, of recreation, which is wholesome for you as well. A rest for the body, the physical strength of the body, the mind, everything is going to go around those 2 points. Now, learning that which is good and doing that which is good. طيب, we said, أما العلم النافع فهو العلم المزكي للقلوب والأرواح المثمر لسعادة الدارين وما جاء به الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم من حديث وتفسير وفقه وما يعين على ذلك من علوم عربية بحسب حالة الوقت والموضع الذي فيه الإنسان وتعيين ذلك يختلف باختلاف الأحوال. We mentioned that he was defining beneficial knowledge. What is beneficial knowledge? He said beneficial knowledge is the knowledge which purifies the hearts and the souls. Knowledge, when you learn it, it purifies you. You feel good, you feel clean, you feel closer to Allah by hearing it, by listening to it, by reading it. So the first sign of knowledge which is not beneficial is that it doesn't get you closer to Allah. It makes your heart harder. It makes you feel further from what you're supposed to be closer to. It's to purify the heart and the soul. And of course, it's not mentioned here, but of course the mind as well. And it says muthmir, it's supposed to be fruitful. It's supposed to be a fruit-bearing tree. And that fruit is happiness in this life and in the hereafter. True beneficial knowledge is supposed to bring happiness and never ever supposed to bring wretchedness. It's never supposed to make you feel or to be miserable, but it's supposed to make you feel the exact opposite. And this is the knowledge what the Messenger of Allah ﷺ has brought, the knowledge that he brought. From the hadith, from tafsir, and from fiqh. As a student of knowledge, the most important things that you're going to focus on are those 3. You're going to focus on those 3. What books to study, what university to go to, who to sit with, what shaykh can I, those 3 tiers. Hadith, tafsir, and fiqh. Those are the 3 pillars of ilm of the deen. Hadith, Bukhari, Musnad Ahmed, 40 Hadith Nawawi, Bulugh al-Maram, hadith. Science, narrators, Sahaba, fiqh of hadith. He says tafsir. Tafsir Ibn Kathir, Tabari, Qurtubi, Sa'di in English and Arabic, half and half. The vocabulary of the Quran, the reasons why the verses were sent down. The schools of tafsir. If you were asked the question, what are the schools? Ma hiya madaris of tafsir? What are the schools of tafsir? What would you say? What are the schools of tafsir? Who are the 4 imams? Who are the 4 imams? Imam Ahmed, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i. Everybody knows that. What are the schools of tafsir? What are the 4 imams of tafsir? La. Who? Nope. Not Tabari. No way, buddy. What are the schools of tafsir? Very important question. Take this to school and ask this question. Ask your teacher. Ask them 2 questions. not as a means of setting your teacher up or to break your teacher's back, but to prove the point that I'm trying to make. Say, what are the 4 imams? I guarantee he'll what? Answer easily. Say, what are the schools of tafsir? Or who are the 4 imams of tafsir? If there are, just ask them. Watch how many people know the first question, but not the what? Not the second. The first thing that you should say, first and foremost, is Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Zayd ibn Thabit, Qatada, Mujahid, Ikrimah, Dhahak, Sa'id ibn Jubair, the students of Ibn Abbas. Where were they? Then you have the school of Mecca. Then you have the school which is in Iraq, Kufa. وهكذا, the madaris of tafsir. طيب, move forward. He says, and fiqh, comparative fiqh, fiqh al-hadith, fiqh al-sunnah, fiqh al-shafi'i, fiqh al-muhim, fiqh. Ahkam, the rulings, the halal, the haram. All the way from the water and the types of water to wills, inheritance, buying and selling, marriage, anything that pertains to the ahkam, the religious rulings. That's what student knowledge is going to focus on. Learning it, studying it, memorizing it, starting off as a beginner, being intermediate, being advanced, وهكذا. So these are the 3 tiers of ilm. Aqidah, akhlaq, all of those things are going to go back to those 3 things. Everybody understand this? Tafsir, the book of Allah, and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and the day-to-day dealings in the business. Tayyib, moving forward. We also mentioned, he said, in everything which helps you in those 3 things of the Arabic language. Ulum al-Arabiya, Ajurumiyya, Nahu, Sarf, vocabulary, Medina book, this one, that book, anything that pertains to the Arabic language and its sciences. He says, according to your time, you full-time or you part-time. I go to school and then I study. I go to work and I study. I'm married with children and I study. I'm single without children, hakadha, according to the time that you have. And he says, according to the place in which you're in America, New York City, online, Canada, Medina, overseas, Yemen, whatever is according to your place and your time. Everybody understand this? It's very important guidelines for the questions that we ask all the time. What's beneficial knowledge? Who to take from? Can we listen to this one? Can we listen? This is the answer right here, clear as day. He then says, وَتَعْيِينُ ذَلِكَ يَخْتَلِفُ بِاخْتِلَافِ الْأَحْوَالِ. He says, in pointing out which books should you study, which school should you go to, he says it depends on the ahwal, the situation. I can't go to Medina. I'm older than 25. Tayyib. Your situation is not what his situation is. So don't try to copycat and mimic. You have a different situation. You're older. You can't go to Medina. Go somewhere else. Do something else. Everybody understand this? Where I come from, I don't have the ability. I have to work. I have to take care of my parents. Every situation is what? It's different. He then says, rahimahullah, وَالْحَالَةُ التَّقْرِيبِيَّةِ. He says, and to approximately estimate all of this, to lay it out simply, we mentioned, and he says, أن يجتهد طالب العلم في حفظ مختصر من مختصرات الفن الذي يشتغل فيه. Is for you to busy yourself with a small matan, a manual for every science that you're trying to study. You want to study tafsir? Start off with a small book of tafsir. Studying fiqh, start off with a matan, a small handbook of fiqh. Studying hadith, start off a small handbook of hadith. وهكذا. Lock it down with the fundamental basics via and through the mutun. Everybody understand this? Via the what? Mutun. And then he says, فَإِنْ تَعَذَّرَ أو تعسر عليه حفظه لفظا فليكرره كثيرا متدبرا لمعانيه. And if you can't memorize it by heart, then at least repeat it. Keep reading over and 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 over again. If you can't memorize it. If you don't have the ability to memorize the entire book, labas, keep reading it. No one stops you from what? Repeating the matan. You can't memorize Kitab al-Tawheed, keep reading it. You can't memorize Tuhfat al-Atfal, just keep reading it. He says until the meaning becomes firmly grounded and planted in your head. Tayyib. Moving forward. To the point in which he says, حتى ترسخ معاني في قلبه أو ترسخ معاني في قلبه ثم تكون باقي كتب هذا الفن كالتفسير والتوضيح والتفريع لذلك الأصل الذي عرفه وأدركه في الإنسان إذا حفظ الأصول وصار له ملكا إلى أن قال فمن حرص على هذا الذي ذكرنا واستعان بالله أعانه الله وبارك في علمه وطريقه الذي يسلكه. He says, so anyone who works hard, very important point, asking questions, going here, working hard. You have to put in the effort yourself. You have to put in the effort yourself. As we say, deserve success. And you only deserve success by working harder than the next man. Put in work. Someone is always going to be better than you, more talented than you, younger than you. Someone's always going to know more than you wherever you go. It's going to be somebody, inshallah. But it doesn't mean that the next man, the next person has to work harder than you. No one can take away your work ethic. You may not have the talent, but no one should outdo you in what? Hard work, studying, long hours, late hours, reading, reviewing, listening to it. Everybody understand this? Until the book becomes faded. Your mushaf is faded because you read it so much the pages fall out. You have a thumbprint in it. Everybody understand this? No one can stop you from that. But you may not have enough talent. You may not be the most talented student of knowledge. You may not be the youngest, the fastest, the sharpest. But there's no excuse for you not to be the hardest what? Working. Everybody understand this? He says, so anyone who does this, who works hard upon what we mentioned, and he seeks help in Allah, with Allah, through Allah, he says Allah will give him barakah in his knowledge. He'll bless his knowledge. And he'll bless his method of knowledge. And you'll achieve a lot in a little bit of time. Everybody understand this? The end will be mubarak in yourself, and it will spread to others. Everybody understand this? ومن سلك في طلب العلم غير هذه الطريقة النافعة فاتت عليه الأوقات ولم يدرك إلا العناء كما هو معروف بالتجربة والواقع يشهد به فإن يسر الله له معلما يحسن طريقة التعليم ومسالك التفهيم تم له السبب الموصل إلى العلم. He says, and those who don't tread this path, this beneficial path, he says, in most cases, he says they'll lose out on their time. They'll waste their time. And the only thing that they'll achieve is exhaustion. That's it. Exhaustion. He says this is well known through experience. Waste your time, as we said, Just lose yourself. Whether you're in America or you go overseas. If you don't study in a proper way, the systematic way, you just waste your time. And even worse than wasting your time, because that's just wasting your time, is to come back to America or Canada, or wherever you go, UK, with a bunch of just facts in your head, sound clips and sound bites in your head. You cause more confusion and more disturbance to the people. You read a book here, you heard this, you read a fatwa, and that's your ilm. No proper management, no proper studying. Everybody understand this? And you cause more corruption. He says you'll just waste yourself. As far as if Allah Azza wa Jalla gives you a good teacher, there's an expert and experience, he says, then it's even better. And bidhnillahi ta'ala, hopefully the package is sealed. If you work hard and you work systematically and you have a good teacher, it's what? Bidhnillahi ta'ala. No way that you should lose unless you yourself what? Just want to lose. Khayran, inshallah. So there's a food for thought for us all, starting with myself and for all of you brothers and sisters. May Allah Azza wa Jalla allow us to understand those words and implement them. Khayr, inshallah, we'll get started with any